So we've talked about in the last lesson questions like this. Anybody remember the sign of 60? Thinking on your unit circle? Root 3 over 2. But now, we're going to work backwards. I'm going to give you the answer. You're going to have to find the angle. And you can use your unit circle for a lot of them, but for some of them you can't. And we'll have to address that a little bit later. Okay? So let's look at ones where you can use the unit circle. So here, going all the way down here, sine theta, so this is a missing angle, is equal to 1/2. So when you solve a trig equation using the unit circle, you ask yourself, what angle or angles how do I phrase this correctly? Have a y coordinate because it's sine on the unit circle of 1/2. Okay, sine tells us that we're going to use, when we use the unit circle, we're going to look at the y coordinates. What angles on the unit circle, when you look at their corresponding points on the circle, have a y value of 1/2? Sorry? 30 degrees? Are there any others? Right. So last year, when we solved trig equations, we just did inverse trig and we used our calculator. And we're going to actually do that again. But there's a lot of times where we don't have to use our calculator now. We can use the unit circle. So for example, B. Again, you're going to ask yourself, what angles have an x coordinate on the unit circle of negative root 2 over 2? And then you just use your unit circle. Okay. 135 degrees has an x coordinate of negative root 2 over 2. And 225 also has one. So really, these are just like quick answer questions. And a lot of the time, there's going to be two answers. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the answer and say, is that one of the values on the unit circle? What are all the values we've seen on the unit circle on the points? We've seen 1/2. We've seen root 2 over 2. We've seen root 3 over 2. We've also seen 0 and 1 and negative 1. So if it's any of those, it's a unit circle value question. Or I always just go UCV, like unit circle. This is a unit circle question. This next one, we've got a little bit of a problem because 0.3 is the same as the fraction 3/10. Is that a value on our unit circle? No. So we need a different method, and how we do this is we're going to have to use a calculator. Now, what you guys would do last year Because I could give you a question like this last year. You guys would have done tan inverse 0.3, write your answer. And you would have found one of them. It's just now there's more than one answer. Okay? So we're still going to do the inverse, but we see that we're going to get multiple answers for many of them. So what we're going to do is we need to figure out what quadrants are our answers going to be in. Well, in what quadrants is tan positive? 1 and 3. That means one of our answers is going to be in quadrant 1, but the other answer is a second answer is going to be in quadrant 3. Now, how do I actually figure out what those are? I need to find the reference angle. To find the reference angle, you always take the inverse. This is where you go inverse. And you find your reference angle. Okay? Because if I know the reference angle, I can find the measure of any angle in all 4 quadrants. So when I do this, yeah, maybe 3 decimal places. 16.699 degrees. So now we're going to use these 2 pieces of information to find our answers. Okay, yeah. So in quadrant 1, if the reference angle is this, what's the actual angle in quadrant 1? It's the same, remember? So one of my answers is going to be 16.699 degrees. I'll tell you. No, telepathy.
The next one could be
Now, yeah, so this is where we have to do a little bit of math. Think we're in quadrant 3. Okay, so we're in this quadrant somewhere. My reference angle is 16.699. To find my actual angle, don't I have to take 180 plus the reference angle? Easy. And what do I get? 196.699 degrees. So notice we have to do a little bit of extra work. If you guys did it the way I asked you to last year, you would have just got this answer. But now we know there's more than one answer. Okay? So it's either going to be a unit circle value, whatever the trig of the angle equals, or it's going to be a value that's not on the unit circle where we have to use a calculator. So let's look at a couple more. D, cos theta equals 0. Is 0 unit circle value? Yep. So I don't have to use my calculator. I use my unit circle. And I'm thinking, at what angles is the x coordinate 0? 90 degrees? Any others? 270 degrees. And those are your answers.
nice.
You're done. How about this one? Unit circle value or calculator? Yeah. So what angles have a y coordinate negative 1. 270. Any other ones? No. So in this case, there's just one answer. What's that? This next one? Yes, with one thing. I want to explain. Okay, and then I'm going to let you go. We'll do half of it together. Okay, unit circle value or no? No, it's a calc. Okay. I am dealing with, I'm wanting to know what quadrants is cosine negative. Four and four? 1 and 4? 1 and 4 or 2 and 3? 2 and 3. Now, here's where you got to be careful. Remember, we're finding the reference angle. The reference angle is always an acute angle. So therefore, if the original number here is negative, to find the reference angle, you have to take the inverse of the positive. So you have to do cos inverse 0.55 to get the reference angle. Otherwise, it will give you a negative answer and you'll get all messed up. Okay, so now I want you to try and go. I want you to try and finish it. 3 decimal places. So what did we get? 56.632? 56.633. Okay. Good. So now we know what quadrants it's in. We know our reference angle. It's going to help us find the actual angles. So in quadrant 2, how do I find the actual angle? No, never 90. Never 90, never 270. It's always 360 or 180. 180 minus the reference angle. And that will give us a answer of 123.367. Because remember, in quadrant 2, this one, we're going to go 180 minus whatever the reference angle is to find the actual angle. In quadrant 3, well, we've already done one like it. We take 180 because we're down here, 180 plus the reference angle, plus 56.633. And we get 236 points. No, made a mistake there. 633. 633, 236.633 degrees. And these are our 2 answers. So again, see, this one is even worse because if you tried just doing inverse cos of negative 0.55, well, you would get one of the answers, 123 degrees, and 3 decimal places. But it's not going to tell you the other one. So this is why we have to use this method. Okay, a couple more examples. All we're going to do is just, only thing we're going to do here, we've got to solve for the trig first. We've got to get the trig by itself. And then we either do the unit circle or we do a calculator. So I need to get cos theta by itself. What do I have to do? I have to add 1 to both sides. Always get rid of what's furthest away first. So 2 cos theta will equal plus 1. And then divide both sides by 2. Cos theta is going to be 1/2. Now I'm ready to solve. Really? Yeah, it's a unit circle value. I mean, you can do the calculator route. It'll get you the answers, but it's awfully long. So theta, now I'm looking for x coordinate at 1/2. What angles have an x coordinate at 1/2? 60 and 300 degrees. Good. This one, well, I've got tan thetas on both sides. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring the tan thetas to one side. So I'm going to swing the 3 tan thetas over here by subtracting them away. What? No, I'm still waiting to do it. For what? 4 tan theta minus 5 equals -6. Now what? To get tan theta by itself, add 5 to both sides. So I get 4 tan theta equals, what's that? -1. Divide by 4. So I get tan theta is equal to -1/4. And that is not a unit circle value. Go to it. See if you can do it. Because this is the more, this is the one that involves more steps. Remember, figure out your quadrants, get your reference angle, use those two pieces to find your answers. So your quadrants first. So tan is negative in what quadrants? 2 and 4. So I know my answers are going to lie there. But in order to find them exactly, I need the reference angle, which I find by taking the tan inverse, because that's how we find angles using trig, of 1/4. Remember, if it's positive, you have nothing to worry about. If it's negative, you got to change it to positive. Otherwise, you could get a weird answer. When you do that and you round it to 3 decimal places, you are going to get 14.036 degrees. So now I've got the information I need to find the final answers. So in quadrant 2, how am I going to find the actual angle if I know the reference angle? 180 minus it. And that will give us 165.964. Quadrant 4, we haven't done one like that yet. So we're in quadrant 4, we got to do 360 minus the reference angle. And we get 345.946. No, 964. And those are our 2 answers. So obviously you want a little bit of practice with the calculator one. Okay, and remember, you've got to know your positives and negatives for tan, sine, cos, and tan. We're going to finish the last one. Okay. So this one. Well, again, we just got to get the trig by itself. So, anybody?
minus 1.
Subtract 1 from both sides, so I get 2 sine theta equals negative 1. Divided by 2, so I get sine. Short or long way? Short, because it's a UCV.
And
So I'm thinking y coordinate is negative a half. 210 and 330.
nice.
So that's solving trig equations. So we took it one step further this year, where we see that last year we only got single answers, but now we see that there's more than one answer, especially when we solve trig equations. Okay, so